for round 3 of our Canva presentation. As you see, it remains perennially popular due to that force of nature, Jamie Coco, who teaches it. So I think at this point, you all knows the rules. Please remain muted during the presentation. We were having some feedback problems in the last 2 sessions that I hope will not happen again. Jamie does like interaction, so he may kind of surprise you by calling on you, in which case you may unmute yourself. This will be recorded and you will receive a copy of the recording and the slide deck after the presentation. So sit back and enjoy and don't feel like you need to take furious notes. For those of you who have not been able to make it to previous sessions, they are all available to register, and the registration is to view the recording. So session 1 and session 2 on demand are up on the CWE website. If you can't find it, just shoot an email to Beth Ann if you are west of Worcester, east of Worcester, and me if you are Worcester and west of Worcester. Did I miss anything, partner Beth Ann?
She's too busy.
I think we're good. All right. So without further ado, star of the show, Jamie, take it away.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Beth Ann. So we are back for another session in Canva. We're going to get to dig into some more of the functionality and then be able to create on the spot. So it'd be great right now if you can just drop in if you've been to one of the other Canva courses, whether you were here live or you watched a recording of it, you can just drop in the comments so we can see that percentage of people who are brand new today. So the way this course is built is that it does build off of each other. So each lesson is going to give a little bit more insights into things. If this is your first lesson, you might be like, ooh, I feel a little bit behind and stuff and understanding where functionality is. That's okay. There's a lot of other materials and recordings that you can get access to be able to see and get caught up with stuff. But the way we roll with it, you're going to see the different functionality, how things work, and you will not have needed experience as well to do this. Now, we do also discuss the difference between free and pro versions as well. So whether you are a Canva free user or a Canva pro user, we'll be able to discuss what you get with each lesson and applying that with the free and what you would get with the pro version. And if you haven't heard me say this already, this is one of the, if I'm thinking about all the purchase decisions I've made as a business, this is probably the top or one of the top 3 purchase decisions getting Canva because of all the amazing functionality that you have with it. All right. Well, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to pop into the presentation. So it works with, let me just look. I want to look in the chat to see 3rd, 1st, and today 1, 2, and 3. Missed the other sessions. We got a good mix of people who are brand new to this course and some people who have seen them all in here, which is awesome. Is there a question already in here? Make a Facebook ad or using Canva to make the image of the ad, not the text port. So we'll get into the social media section as well for this course, but there's so much functionality like creating regular Facebook posts or creating Facebook ads as well, or even I want to say next session, we're going to get into video. And then if you're thinking about social media and you're thinking about ads on social media, video is the way to go. I have ad, when you get to a certain level of ad spend, you actually get a Facebook ad rep that you get to meet with on a monthly basis. So when I talk to the Facebook ad rep who has all the insights because they work at Facebook, they said that video ads outperform still image ads across the board for the digital assets they have. So I'm just throwing that little insights into it because if little things like this pop up, we can discuss them as they go. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. What we'll try to do is if we have questions that pertain to the materials that we're focused on at that moment, then we'll answer those questions. If they don't seem like they pertain to them at the moment, if we're going to get to them in the slide deck, we'll answer them there or at the end of the slide deck, right? When we go to the live section of it, then we'll answer them there. So if you're like, hey, they're not answering my question, we will get to your question. We will answer it by the end of the presentation. Excellent. Yes, you can make videos on Canva, and it is pretty amazing what you can do with videos on it. We're actually going to show you, it's going to be a taste of videos in today's lesson. All right, so we went through the intro, and then last session we went into templates, photo editing, and text. And then we're going to get into elements and animation. With animation, we turn the still images or still content, we can turn them into video content that we can then export and then upload it into social media platforms. Or if you use the pro version, you can schedule your video content right from Canva and to publish on that social media platform at the time that you want it to. All right, so we're going to talk about shapes, graphics, grids, frames, and then we're going to get into animations today. Another concept that isn't directly outlined in here when we get to grid and frames is that we'll discuss how to create what we think of as templates for our own business. So if we have 3 to 4 different designs for a social media brand that we have, we'll show you how to do that and set that up inside of the designs in Canva. All right, so we're going to discuss using elements in Canva. So some of these things we discussed in earlier lessons, we're just digging deeper in this specific lesson. So there's a whole, once you log into Canva, there's a whole toolbar on the left side when you're going into your creating content, and there's an element section. And then inside of elements, there's going to be a lot of different options for you to choose. You have recently used, anything that you've used is going to pop up under recently used. And here, as you scroll down in this section, you'll have graphics, charts, frames, grids. And if you don't know what half of this means, don't worry. We're going to show you examples and application for it in here. So there's options that we can use elements to have a decorative background. And you might see this in, for instance, like YouTube thumbnails, or even some digital ads where the content itself has a customized background to it. And I'm going to show you how to be able to create some customized backgrounds for things that you're working on yourself as well. So you can use lines and shapes to decorate the background of your content. You can always also change colors and transparency. So these are an example of 2 different elements. We have a square element in the back, and then we have a wavy element in front of it. And then we can select the elements and we can change the color, or we can change the transparency. So these could be the exact same color. It's this one is transparent, has some transparency to it. So you can see through it. So it appears to be lighter, but it's because it's transparent. And we'll see how that interacts live. And then arranging layers. So we have these different layers, but you know, what happens if you drop something in and it accidentally falls behind something? How do you work with that layer? Well, you can select it, and there's a whole positioning function where you can bring it all the way to the front, or you can move it 1 layer forward, another layer forward, another layer forward. As you get into really complex designs, we have like cool things like a word is going through one part of it. It's in front of one thing, but then it's behind another thing. Now it's in front of another thing. We're thinking of multiple layers that we're accessing to be able to do that for our content. So that's how we get into layering that we have. And then we can also add things for elements like click on this or look here, where we can add in arrows to be able to, or shapes in here to be able to add emphasis to the other elements that we've added in here. Then we have graphics. There's a bunch of different graphics that you have. You have regular graphics, you have animated graphics as well in there. When we're thinking about the options you have for free versus pro, is that the features outside of content planner, brand kit, and the background remover, most of the other features you'll have access to. It's just going to be the quantity of those features you're going to have. So when I say quantity, like if you go under graphics and you look for a book graphic, under free, you might have 20 different options for a graphic that has to do with books. If you have the pro, you might have 1,000 options when it comes to graphics that have to do with books, and you can filter that as well. And I'll show you that. So we can have graphic, we can add the arrow, lines, and shapes to be able to enhance the graphic or add layers. So it looks like there's a window pane in front of the image, or even a circle behind the image itself that is a circle. Or like this could be a book, and it could be that book copied 3 times and just rearranged. So it's just slightly moved in a position differently for each one of these versions with a different color in it. So it looks like it's stacked, but it could be the same book duplicated 3 times. And we got 3 different layers in there, with a 4th layer that could be the words on top of it. So there's awesome search functionality in that. And we did learn in one of our last sessions that it also works for multiple languages. So if you're looking for content in Spanish or French, you can put the Spanish or French word in there or phrase, and then it did pull up graphics that match with that French word or phrase. So there's icons that you can add as well to add decorative elements. And we can see that an element could be a circle, or it could be a book, or it could be a branch in here, or it could be this like nighttime scene behind here. There's a bunch of different options. One thing to know is that not all of the options you use when it gets to graphics are going to be color customizable. So some of them you select to be able to change the color, and some you select it's the color that it is. And sometimes that means you might select something because you think that you can change the color, and then when you recognize you can't change the color, you might not use that as a graphic inside of your design because the color scheme doesn't match with yours. So you can add charts to presentations. You can, when you add a chart, you just have to manually click on areas to add the numbers in there for it to then create that and design. But it can be really great for presentations. And then it keeps everything in one place. So you're not trying to like create a graph somewhere else and then pull it into Canva. It helps, especially, I love this Canva for presentation. That's where we're doing the presentation today, is inside of Canva. And you'll see that when I bump out and actually do some stuff live inside of Canva. So color, number, and labels are things that you can customize. And we have frames. Frames are super cool. What a frame is you can add something and you can see what it looks like below, where you can take an image or picture or something and then you can move it and it's going to fill out that frame in just that frame area. So this is going to be great for us as we're thinking about creating different templates for our business, because we can take one template, we can then delete out this image, put a different image in here, and it'll fill this with the image. And then that way we can use a template, but then switch out different components of that template to create a new look for the next post. So you can pick a frame, you can drag a photo on top of it, and then you have the ability to adjust. So if you drop it in and this person's face is all the way to the left, you can double click it and then you can pull it so you can center whatever that content is that you dropped in the frame. And we'll again show this live. You can create cool effects. So we threw in a background, then we put a frame on top of it, and then added a photo into the frame on top of it. And so you get this multi-layer effect that gets people being like, what is going on? This is cool in the photo. So you can create some cool effects with frames and layers. There's also grids. So grids are like our frames, but a set of frames in a design for frames. So just like frames with grids, you can drag and drop them in. You can drag one picture to here, a different picture here, a different picture here, a different picture here. And then if you're trying to create a new post for the following week, you can just drag a different picture in here, different picture in here, different picture here, different picture in here. So you're using the same design, but you're adding different pictures in so it looks fresh and new to save you time. So this is, we can see how this could look as we're throwing different images in here. All right, now we're going to get into some of the using animations in Canva. And you can see this is an animation right here in itself, and they work in presentations. So if you throw in an animation, just like you're seeing today, it'll work in a presentation. And we actually had a transition that just happened in there as well. And we'll get that when we get into dig a little bit deeper into presentations. But you saw the bottom popped up, like came up as we moved into this slide, and we come out, there's going to be a transition with things that go away in here. So you get some really cool transition components. So if you wanted to create an animation, we have, let's say we design this with a red background. We have a photo in here. We have a couple different graphics that we added. We can select an element. And then there's an animate button. We're showcasing all of the cool things we can do. And then you can select what you want to do for that animation, whether you're doing a pan, a rise, a fade, breathe. And then you'll notice that the crown means it's a pro version. So you get basic stuff, and then there's a whole list, as we'll see. So we scroll down with scale, there's going to be a lot of other things, like I believe it's enhance as well as one of the categories. And so you have one option in each one of those, and then there's other ones that would come with the paid. So then you select the effect that you want with pan, and then you can select a timing as well. So once you select an effect, a little timing thing is going to pop up now for you to select how long you want that effect to run for, start to end. And so then you select a timing for it, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 1 second, whatever it is you're selecting the timing you're going to have for that specific effect. And it automatically sets at 5 seconds if you don't do anything with it. Then if you wanted to, when you're done, you can download it as a GIF or GIF, or you can download it as an MP4 file. So depending on the format that you want to be able to use it in social, or use it in messaging, or use it in any of your marketing materials, you have the option, 2 different video formats. Yeah, and I will definitely do that. So a couple questions with animations are, can animations go in sig lines in email? So, the signature line of emails. So I haven't actually applied that to it, but I would assume that yes, you could download this as a video file, and then you could put it in a signature line. I know that with different types of, when you're trying to execute content, it's good to know some of the specifications they have. So with your email platform, you might look up like, what are the specifications for emails, animations in an email line, and it might say that it needs to be an MP4 format for it, or it might say it needs to be a GIF format for it, or GIF. So you want to check that out. The second one is that we're going to, we'll demonstrate animating objects for sure in this. So if you wanted to, you can just select page animations. So you have the choice. You can animate everything in the same way, or you can animate different elements on the page in different ways. So there's actually a page animation, you have element animation, there's also text animation functionality that they have in here, which is really cool because it'll make it like it's writing out things on your post for you to turn it into video content. And this is the example of a graphic that is already an animation. So when we select things or go for our search in graphics, you can hit we can filter for free, and then we can filter for animated graphics as well, if we're looking to add animated graphics to what we're doing. And this will do the same thing. When you put an animated graphic, it'll add the option to pick the timing of it to your content. All right, so let me bump out of this now because this was the slide deck portion of it, but now I want to get into the actual hands-on portion of it. All right, so we're going to open up Canva. Excellent. All right, Adam, can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
All right, Adam, what do you think we should create? What type of template?
Let's do a Facebook post.
Okay, great. So we're going to click on Facebook post, and this is free or pro. You can navigate the exact same way that I did. So what it's doing is opening up. This is going to be a blank template on the right, but on the left, you're going to give you some different design things that you could do if you wanted to. And here, we're not going to choose any of these, but you could choose them and then you can manipulate them as well. So Adam, what do you think would be a cool, well, why don't you first, why don't you say what you do, Adam?
I do marketing for micro businesses, website design, and some social media learning also. And so I'm in Boston area, and an idea for like a Facebook post would be like an event coming up, not an event post, but just, you know, a Facebook post that was sort of like, hey, hope you're coming to this event, or I've got a course coming up because I teach courses.
Great. What's give me a top, like, let's say like web design course or social media course. Give me an example of how to want to.
How to edit an image in Wix.
Okay. So what you can do is you can put stuff, I'm not sure Wix will pop up here, but let's say I plug in Wix, like awesome. They're going to have logos as well for stuff. So like all the social media platforms, there'll be logos in here. We're going to say that we're going to do Wix in here. So you have Wix. This is now an example of something that we can change the color on. So I could change Wix to blue.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a color, Adam.
Yeah, I like the orange is good.
Orange? Okay, great. So we have Wix in here. We can take this, we can hit Control C, Control V, or I think if it's a Mac, you can do Command C, Command V. Any of my Mac users can verify that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So what I'm doing here is I'm duplicating this, and you can see as we start to move that lines are going to pop up because it's helping you to get everything in the right positioning. So like, you know, if you try to do stuff in another program, it'll be like a little off. You're like, it feels like it's off. I can't tell that it's going to let you know that it's set up well. So boom. So doing this again, got a line. I'm going to do it again. And do it one more time so we can start to fill out the background. All right, so we got the orange. Now pick another color, Adam.
Like a light pastel purple or something.
All right, let's do purple. So now what I'm doing, my back layer is going to be the Wix in here. Now I'm doing a layer on top of it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm pulling it all the way to the edges here. And so I'm filling it. You're like, well, wait, I just lost everything that was behind it. Just wait. You said pastel what?
Like the light purple down there or something. Yeah. Any of those actually would be nice.
Yeah, so this is cool as well, is that if you're looking for certain colors, you can type in stuff. Like we typed in pastel and this came up. You can type in green. You can type in purple. You can type in summer. There's going to be a lot of different color options they have in here for you. So we're doing pastel. All right, now we're going to make this transparent.
Okay.
So now we've done it this way where you got this multi-layered effect for that background. All right, so we got Wix in the back, multi-layered effect here, and then you said an event coming up. So we've used this in the last session. I use this a lot for being able to create like banners inside where we can create this area now where we can add some text to it. So because Adam selected orange before, I don't want to stray too much in colors. I'm going to have orange up here. What's the event, Adam? Let's make up a name.
Yeah, how to edit, excuse me, how to edit an image in Wix.
So now when we start to write, put our text in here, we can start to move it with that corner option to expand it so we can try to get this equal effect in here. Another thing, and we just discussed it last session, is you're going to move it around and you see that there's going to be a purple box that pops up here. What it's telling you is that this is where the eyes are going to go. Do not put text outside or critical graphics outside of this box. So we're going to, boom, have it here. I'm going to just copy so I have the next set, edit, and image in Wix. So another concept we discussed in the last session, gave you resources for, was typography and how you can have a bold font with a thin font, and that can really help to make things look professional for what you're doing. So that's the design of this, is I have a bold font and then I selected a thinner font. All right, so image and Wix, and then give me a date.
February 15th.
Okay. (2022). I'm still getting used to it. Saying 2022 and stuff. All right, so we could set it up like this. We can also add one more layer to it. And you can see how like this starts to get like, whoa, this is crazy with how many things that you can do. Where I want the February, if I wanted the February to pop out, people knew the date, I can create another layer right behind just the February in here. And then I can select both the background element and February, and then I can group them so they become one unit, and then I can move them together to get that alignment from before. All right, so that was some of the things we talked about in the beginning of the session, was that background and setup. I want to just pull some of these other elements in. Now, if we go back to element itself, and we have the search that I use to get square, as we can start to see the different types of elements. We have lines and shapes. We have graphics, photos, videos, audio, chart, tables, frames, and then grids. All the things that we started to discuss earlier in here. So we got the background, and we can use other things when we get into shapes. We can just click on shapes, and then it's gonna pop open this option for us to see. And you're gonna notice a lot of these shapes are free, which is awesome. So can you add your own photos elements to be used? Yeah, there's an upload section in here where you can upload any of the content that you have, whether it's images, videos, or audio, and then you can put that right in here, and we'll show that. Like for instance, if this was This is a business that I'm working with right now. If they wanted to have their logo in here as well, you can try to strategically position the logo so people knew that that's the business that's hosting it.
And if we animated anything, how can you view what it looks like?
So let me click it, and we have the animate option here. It's going to give you it's going to show you. So like we hover over it, you see how it starts to go down.
Yep.
Ascend, burst, bounce. There's a bunch of different options.
So if you pick one and then, and let's say you're doing a couple of animations, whatever, how can you look once you set the time, you got the time up there in the top, like I wanted to go faster or I wanted to go slower, so you can edit that. But then once you put it together, is there a way to kind of look at the whole thing? You just click that up there, that play button. Okay.
This one. And so this is, it does get a little bit into the video portion where, we can have multiple slides or multiple spots that we're creating content for inside of this overall template. So it'd be multiple versions of the template. And here, and then if we hit the plus, we'd see like what happened with template 1 and template 2 together. So this would be what happens on template 1 and template 2 as a 10-second video.
And if you download something with animation, does the animation then, and you download it on your computer and then you upload that to Facebook? I guess I'm getting ahead maybe, but does it show up or does it depend on what kind of download you do?
No, it shows up. Yeah, as long as you're picking the GIF or GIF and MP4, then it will show up.
Okay.
Whatever you publish it to. So I'm going to dig back into this in a second. I just wanted to make sure I covered all the bases with stuff before I get there. So if you wanted to add lines, like you can select where the line starts, where the line ends, how long the line is. If there's specific things like endpoints or just want a straight line or you want an arrow, you can select the elements that you want. We can take it, flip it around. Here, we can move it. Here, we can make it more bold. So add weight to it. Take weight away from it. We can turn it into a dotted line. Or have bars at the end as well. So you get a lot of options for these things. This is why we have 6 sessions for this, is because there's so much that you can do with all of these things that you have options for. So another, for instance, is that we click on that specific element. We can animate that element differently than the other one in here, but it's going to show you how it works together. So we do a fade, it's fading in, and then it types. So it could be multiple different actions that you're having at the same time. All right. And so we got into elements. And the other ones that we wanted to jump into are like the chart element. So grab the chart. We can pull it in here. We can change the colors. So we got it and it's branded well. And we can add specific things to it. And we can switch it out if we want to have it be a progress bar at the top. Then we have the option to add the number in itself. So if it's 70%, and then it'll adjust, or it's 90%, it's going to adjust inside of that. And then we can open it up, we can move it to wherever we want. And then we can animate it as well. Any of the elements that we have, we can animate. So go back to elements. So that's the thing we always want to remember. We got to select what we want to be working on first. And then before we can dig into the specific elements that we're working on. So now frames. So let's go a frame up here. we can position it. So maybe it's in front of everything, or we can take the position and move it behind certain elements. So I'm gonna move this. So now it's focused on the date here, and then it's away from the frame itself. So the way frames work is, let's duplicate the page. Now we could have one version where I'm gonna grab an upload in here, and I just drag it over. So I drag it over. Once it gets in this area, it fills it. If I wanted to make adjustments to it, I double click, and so I can move it. Right. So when it comes to frames, if you do like a circle or a square, it can do a landscape image like this. You can miss some of the people in there or some of the content in there. So just know that. You might have to select an appropriate one. So then we have the same template, but now I'm going to do an alternative version in here. So this is another post. And then I click it and line it up. One thing we discussed before is the grid that you have. So whether you're throwing an image in itself or you're putting it in a frame, it's going to give you a grid, and the focal points are going to be at this inner box, the corners. So I want to make sure that we have a focal point, either a person or an object that has purpose to it, right in one of those sections of it. All right, so we added in frames. We can also animate the frame itself. You can have photo movement. So it could slide, it could rise, zoom in. There's a bunch of things we could do. And then you also see the pro version stuff, and it's going to give you more options. Like if you want to do scrapbook style for it. And we can see how like multiple elements now are creating this video that we now have access to. All right, and then we have the last element that we discussed was grid. So I'm just going to open up one more so we can keep what we're doing in here. I could take this out, and then I could go to grid, and I could find a grid to put in there. So let's say I chose that grid, and then I could put this in part of my image as a grid. And now I have 3 different spots for myself to add content into. You can also go to photos, and they have a bunch of free photos that you can use. Like we can type in stuff to see. Wix isn't coming up, but let's do image editing. Let's see if that pops up for us. So we can grab, pull in one thing here, pull in another one there, and then pull in third one here to be able to fill in that grid. And the same thing, we can duplicate the page, and then we can have a whole nother post with different pictures that we're using inside that grid itself. And if you put it in and you're like, that doesn't line up well, you just double click, and then you line it up the way you want to with your content. So when it comes to grid as well, you can do it where that is the image. So let's say that we take out everything that we worked on. And then we can now choose one of these grids that's going to be the image itself. So we can take this, great. And we can always do some of the other components that we had before. And then we can select them all, and then we can group them or we can just copy them and paste them. So now we have the grid in the background, but we still have our content in front of it. And then we can take here and then put in these different elements as well to be able to create what that image is going to look like. And then we can duplicate and then switch out what the images are behind. The purpose of what we're doing here is not only to learn the elements, but also so that you can get to know how to create designs faster. Because as a content creator, what you don't want to be doing is like every time that you create a design, you have to do everything from scratch. Like part of it's like, all right, you're going to be setting up. I think most of the businesses that we work with will set up like seasonal templates. So here's the 5 different ones that they're working with for the winter. Here's the 5 different ones they're working with for the summer. And then they just switch out some of the different elements or pop in an image. I'm seeing some questions pop in here. All right. If you animate words, dates, does that become a video in Facebook? Yeah, so all of this stuff, when you download it, it all becomes a video in terms of social media. As long as you download it as either an MP4 file or a GIF in here. And this is important to know that there are no sounds attached to it. You can also add audio if you want. So if you want to pull in audio to the project that you're working on, you can click on audio and then you can put in like a genre, or you can hear it, you can listen to different audio and then you can add it to this. So it's part of that video that you now have in here. If we want to look at, Adam's question earlier was, how do we see everything together? We can hit the play button now and we can see all of the different components and how they work in. Each of them are 5 seconds a piece. And so this is a great way for us to create one slide is this, one is this, one is this, one is this. And then we can loop them all together to create a 15-second, 20-second, 30-second video content for ourselves with these different versions. And then you can click right from here to download. If you're like, yes, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So that was the 35-second clip. And we can close it. Awesome. So what are the other questions that I have in here? So what we're working with is the elements that we're working with are the free version stuff. There are other things like the audio is paid part of the version, or some of the photos could have been paid for. So this is a pro. You can go to the top and they usually have, if they do have it in that area, they have free towards the top. So this is a free one. This is a paid one. You can also filter it. So if you wanted to say free only, you just apply filters and then you'll see just the free ones that you can use. And this is the same for elements. So if we go back over to elements, we click back at a grid, the top, and edit. We can see a bunch of different things that pop up under all. We can go over here, we can hit free, and then we can choose whether we want animated or if we want static, or if we want specific ones like a square or a vertical that's long up and down, or horizontal. So we wanted animated, square. We can apply those filters. Unfortunately, under the free, that's not an option. You can see though, we do have vertical, animated, free available. And there's actually like stock video content that you can add to things as well, if that was something that you wanted to do. So you can click on the element, and now this can be part of the content that we have. And then this got dropped into this frame. So now this frame is video content. The others are still images, and we have video content in here. And then you might have noticed that that time went up because this was a 51-second video. And now, because we put it in here, it's out of that 51 seconds, or 51 minus 5, 46 seconds to what we were doing, doing quick math for you all. So yeah, now we have a design that actually has a video embedded in it. And you can do this as well if you're creating video content. You can create this template, you can put a frame in here for yourself, and then if you're recording video, you can upload it, and then you can plug the video right into that frame of the content. So if you want to like spruce up your video, add elements to the video, add a logo to the video that you're trying to create or have created, you can do it in this way, where you can plug your video content right into a frame. If you didn't have a frame set up, then it would just, so let's delete the frame and you plug the video in here. You're going to just have to move it and position it to fill out what you're doing for that. And then remember, we're looking at layers, so we can drop it in all the way to the back. If we didn't like that, we double click and then we can move it to the place that's most meaningful for us. So for about image editing, let's get that top left-hand, upper left-hand corner of the square. Let's get that lined up with it. So now we can see what's going on in the background of this. If we wanted to, because what you can do is you create in these different, like page 1, page 2. If we didn't want to incorporate all of them, let's say we just wanted to do page 2. We can go into the download and we can just select page 2 for our content. And then we just hit download. This gets checked off in here. So when it says download settings, so if you go to download again from this document, it's going to try to pull in page 2 again. And you can, if that's what you're going to plan on doing, you're going to download page 2, and then you're going to do an edit to it and then download it. And you can see the differences between the video. You can have that. You can also uncheck it so that it just goes back to default, and then you can select the specific page. Just know that if you're downloading multiple times from the same template, is that if you hit the save download settings, this is going to happen. So I can hit download. We'll have a bar that pops up with videos. It does take a significant time. So if you're doing like an image, a still image, like it's pretty quick. If you're doing a presentation, like maybe it takes a few seconds for it. But with video content, it definitely takes a little bit longer. So just be patient with it when you're downloading video content. You can do other things right now. We don't have to wait for it. It's downloading in the background as we're doing this. All right, let me go through if there's more questions. Can you show how to fill image with text? Can you add image in how to edit? Nazir or Naz, can you unmute yourself just so you can explain the question so I know exactly what you're asking for, and then I can help if you're there, if you're here still.
Apologies, I was mute. Your question is how to edit text. There is the wording written. So is it possible to fill this all the black text in black font with the image?
So it is, but it's not with the regular text function. So remember how I went to frames before? So if I go to elements, I go to frames. And now under frames, I can get letters. So if I scroll down in here, it's going to, actually it's not grid, it's frames that it's supposed to be in. I clicked the wrong one. There you go. So I can type in specifically E. So E, and so I have a bunch of different versions of E. So now let's say I got rid of this. I just say how to here. Now I can add the E and then get it to size And then when you get a lot of elements, you can see how sometimes it's tricky to make sure you select the right element. So I get decide. So D. And each one will try to be consistent with the one that you pick for it. So D. I. I appreciate you bringing this point up because this is a really meaningful. T. Sometimes when you type in stuff, it like pulls up more than what you needed for it. So T's don't pop up right away. We just have to scroll until we find T. And you can see how many different frame options there are as we go through. Like there's like iPhones and books or a social post for frames. You can have 3 different. So there's some pretty cool designs when it comes to frames and how you can add in frames as well. So even if it's taking us forever to get to the T, at least you can see all these cool different designs. So right there.
Interesting. Yeah, finally.
So we have this, we're trying to get everything lined up as well as possible. And then we can take a photo and then we can drop it in to the E. And this is something that you can zoom in. I don't want you to try to do it that way. You can definitely zoom in to be able to see that content. Or if you wanted to, what would be even better than zooming in is just have a new window that you're doing this editing in. So I'm copying it over to this window so I can like enlarge it and see how I'm really working with this design. And I can drag them over to the individual ones if I wanted to do the video in one of these, video in here. Now we have all of this cool stuff going on. I can now grab it. I can hit the group. So now it's all one. I can copy it and I can paste it in. And now I can get it set in the way that I want it to for my image. And there, now you have the video playing in the letter.
That's really, really helpful, Jamie. I was looking for this answer. Really, I was not able to find. Thank you very much. It worked really well with big fonts. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, and I agree that if you're using
it looks very professional, really, when you are writing title or title of the something presentation or somewhere. Really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You got it. Thank you. So I totally agree. It can make your design look super professional, but the best case scenario, best use is when you're using it in a bigger portion. So not having it in this little small, spot in here. If you're doing like a title of something, like have it bigger so it takes up a little bit more space so they can see that design element instead of it being hidden down here. All right. And now the green disappeared with the grid. Patricia, you said something about the green disappearing with the grid. Do you want to just unmute for a second so I understand what you're getting with that?
Yes, so the grid function is really cool, but it's got the little, it looks like little landscapes and stuff. So that disappears because I thought I tried to work with that and it still stayed in my, yes, like see how the little green landscape is there in the grid?
Yeah.
That just disappears when you put something else on top of it?
Yeah. And then you just have to click on it and hit the delete to get rid of the image and then have it go back to the, either way, like you don't have to, you can just pull over a new image and like it's going to just replace the old one. So you don't really have to delete it out to put a new one in there. But yeah, if you deleted it out, yeah, it's just a blank frame for you to be able to use. And then there is, voice over key abilities. We're going to get into that. I want to see where, because we don't do a lot of the voiceover stuff in here. So this might be something that I just pull in our next session, so I can get back to the voiceover stuff. There also, I mean, we discussed effects before. Animate, you have the text animations and you have the entire page animation. So if you want everything to be animated in the same way, instead of all these different elements that are doing different things, then you can pick, so they all operate in the same way. And then it feels a little bit more cohesive than the other one where different elements are happening at different times. So yeah, you can select any of these. And I will get back on the voiceover. It might be that there's a different video format that you use. I think that's what it is. There's a different video format. So this is us like using a template and then turning things into video. But there's another format that you can use, which is a video format inside of Canva that's going to give you a little bit more customization options for your video. And I think that's where we're looking at the voiceover stuff in that. Let me look at, there can be too many bells and whistles for sure with this. And it's easy to get lost in what's going on with Canva. Inside Canva, all free, yes, they are. So you can use those. There are also other integrations inside of Canva as well. We'll get into that in the advanced when you can go into this more area, and there's other cool things that you can add into it, like Bitmoji. We'll talk about the draw tool that you can do as well. Pexels is another free photo digital platform as well. So if you're looking like for stock images that are not copywritten, then you can use stuff inside of Canva, and you can also use Pexels as well. And you click this, and then it's going to open up some more options of things. And this is probably actually going to give you, it might give you even more of free options than you're going to see inside of Canva itself. Can you hyperlink elements to websites? So you can, but it doesn't work unless you're doing things inside of PDFs. So like if I click something in here, I can choose to create a link, and then I can drop in a link, and then it's going to be hyperlinked, but it's not going to work as a hyperlink if you use it as a social media post. It would have to be a PDF for you to be able to use that hyperlink element. Do you got something, Adam?
Sorry.
Oh, you unmuted. That was an epic unmute. Can you upload your own audio? Yes. Music is copyright free, but music, from what I've seen, we're looking at pro for music. Maybe you'll be able to get free apply filter. Okay, there we go. There are some free stuff as well in here that you can use for your content. It says then download, then publish. Right then, so you could choose, if you're using this under Pro, to publish this to Facebook. You would just select what you wanted for that publish. So you could select the page that you're publishing it to, and then select the pages or the page that you selected for it. So I didn't want them all. I just wanted page 3 is going to be my video. And then you can write in your content, like your text description. And then you can publish or right now, or you can schedule it to publish at a certain time. If
Can
you
you
have,
throw tags in there, or do you have to go back to Facebook and edit it?
so when it comes to tagging, this is the downside of Canva is, yes, you can, but it's not going to pull the data in. So you need to make sure that the tag that you put in is like, it's perfect. So
Okay.
like if you're like inside of Facebook and you start to enter like, you do the @ and then you do like small business helper, your business, Adam, you like small biz, maybe you misspell it, but it's okay because it shows like all the options of it. You're like, oh, that's the one. where that's not going to happen in Canva. You just have to make sure that you put in the right handle for whatever business is. And you can always do that. Like you can go to Facebook. You have a Facebook page, Adam, for Small Business Helper?
Yes,
All right, Small Biz Helper, is that right?
correct.
He's like, don't analyze my Facebook page.
There
There's
it
people
is.
watching, Jamie. And then you see that there's an @ in here, right there, @ Small Business
Mhm.
Helper. We can copy that and we can put that into the content.
I imagine you could also just, if you don't have the tags right, publish it from Canva, then go to your Facebook account and edit the post there, right?
Oh, you could totally do that. You can have like two open like this, publish here, then go over to Facebook, refresh, and then you could totally do that as well. If you wanted to try to do like the most streamlined approach, so you don't have to double work, you can do it this way. Whatever is best for you and your business is what you want to focus on. We're going to get into in one of our later sessions the whole recording, because you can record yourself just like you're doing Zoom. Yeah, you can record presentations, you can record voiceovers, you can download them. And then with Teams, you can do the sharing option, and then you can share, you can either type in the email address of somebody who you want to share it with, you can grab the link, or you can send them the link. So if they're working with you on something, you can drop it in for them. You just have to make sure your privileges edit for it. If it's your team, you just have to make sure that you switch that sharing setting to edit so they can edit it. If one last thing, because we're over time here and we'll get to the rest in our next session, is that one important thing to know is if someone shares a template over with you or over with your business, and you want to have your own version of that template, you can always hit the make a copy, create a copy of it. So you have that template, now you've created a copy of it, and now you have ownership of that copy. The reason I say that is, like, for instance, let's say that somebody shares a template over with you, you're working on it together, and they decide to close their Canva account. Now the template's gone because they were the owner of that template through their Canva account. So if you wanted to, like, quote unquote, change ownership, you take that template, you copy it, and then you could share it back with them. And then you can work off of the copied one that you have because you'd have ownership over that template. All right, so the rest of the questions that we have in here, we're going to catch in our next sessions.
Yeah, I think there are several questions on audio and that sort of thing. So I think you said you're going to cover that in your next session. So yeah, if you have audio questions, they will be coming next week.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jamie, again, for another fabulous edition of Canva. And we will hopefully see you all next week for session 4. We will be sending out the recording of this session along with the slide deck. And yeah, go ahead. You can always go to eCenter to sign up for the rest of the sessions. There are 3 more after this. So you should all be absolute experts in Canva by the time we're done. So stay warm, everyone. Be safe in the storm. Looks like we're having a, what do they call it? A bomb cyclone on Saturday. So stay warm, happy shoveling, all of those good things.
Hi, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Jamie.